Hey guys, welcome to the channel. It's Jack with Stronghold Strength and Conditioning. And today, I've got a 15-minute full body stretching routine that you could use on a regular basis. But before we get into that, make sure you take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injury, and overall optimize your performance. And it really doesn't get much better than that. So go ahead and jump on it. Ready? Here we go. Alright guys, so today's full body stretching routine is going to be 15 minutes and you can follow right along. Make sure you have a mat with you here. We're going to be doing some of my favorite movement-based stretches here. So we're not going to be staying static for too long in any of these positions. We're going to be using a little bit of contract and release technique as well. So flexing the muscle to help release the tissues and get into the stretch a little bit deeper in certain positions. But really just overall trying to get things moving and flowing well. So you could use this as a morning routine or you could use it as a nightcap to finish off the day. Get your mat. You don't need any other equipment other than that, and let's go ahead and dive into it. All right, guys, we're gonna start in a toe-tucked position, kind of a seiza, but not a full seiza here. And we wanna lean back so that we're getting the quads to stretch in this position. I'm gonna go in and out of this lean, and if you're not even able to sit to the heels here, first just start with sitting at the heels. But as I lean back, if we're in this position, I want to engage the glutes as much as possible as I lean back, supporting myself with the arms there to help out, but then giving the quads a nice stretch as I engage the glutes, trying to fully extend my hips in that position. The toes might be taking a lot of pressure if you're not used to this bent position here, but this is something that we want to work at. Next, we're going to move to a plantar flex position. And once again, if your ankles are uncomfortable in this position to start with, then just let's begin towards sitting butt to heels in this full seiza position. I'm going to add that flex and release again from the glutes. Once again, stretching the quadriceps through a bigger range of motion here. So now we're taking in a little bit more of a stretch because we're getting a little deeper in as we go in that range of motion, lowering those hips between the feet or to the heels a little bit deeper without that toe tuck underneath here. So keep extending as deep as you can, really giving a good flex from those glutes in this position each time. That's where we're going to feel that stretch at that top position with those glutes engaged. Next, just give a little roll side to side there. Kind of let yourself settle out. And we're going to come into the all fours here. Hands underneath the shoulders, knees below the hips. And we're going to just work a little bit of spinal segmentation here. So starting with tucking the chin to the Adam's apple, pressing the scapula away from one another, rounding that mid-back, and then engaging the glutes, really tucking the hips into a posterior pelvic tilt. And then we're going to reverse it. So now I'm putting an anterior pelvic tilt at the pelvis, letting those the thoracic spine sink between those shoulder blades, and then looking up straight ahead here as I extend, engaging the back musculature. So the mid-back, the upper back should feel pretty engaged in that position as I pull those shoulder blades down and back. Once again, rounding fully, and I'm thinking of segmenting each portion of the spinal column one by one as I move here. We're just looking for some fluidity, so start slow, really feel the movement work its way from one end of the spinal column to the other and then back again. And then as you get a little more comfortable with the movement, you can start to actually move a little bit more fluidly and try and combine all those segments a little bit more closely together as you get into that. As we're in this arch position, you should feel the abs engaging quite a bit here, because that's what we want to do, is flex the spinal column using the abdomen, pushing the floor away with the chest. And then in this arch position, the low back, the mid back, the upper back. So we're going both ends of the body there, really feeling that engaging in this position. From here, we're going to center up one knee between the hands, and I want to put my full body weight on that knee. And what I'm doing is actually working at the hip capsule here. So you might feel something at the inner hip line there, that inguinal line. You might feel like your hip bone's about to push out your glute in this position. So it's going to be a little bit unique to each person depending on how their hip situation is. But adding that pressure, driving it through the hip, and just kind of circling through a C shape you'll see me doing. So I'm kind of working the outer edge of that portion there and making a little bit of a C in and out as I move. Just testing the waters in each of those positions. If I feel any tender points, I want to move through those carefully, slowly, just taking my time to breathe and see if I can actually relax the hip in this position as I allow that pressure to come up into it here. And here we're gonna switch sides. Now this one's a pretty important one to me, so we are gonna spend some time on it, just working that outer C shape once again on the opposite leg, letting the pressure come up through that hip, trying to centrate that hip joint. We'll feel those glutes stretching a little bit. You might feel that inguinal crease again. Just remember that the pressure is unique to you, what you can handle. The first thing is just letting as much of that body weight kind of settle into that hip as you're able to. The pressure coming up directly from the ground into the hip in that position. And then once I have that, I can begin to move in that C shape. Good. Next, we're coming back to that all fours position and then reaching the arms out long overhead. Here we're going to look at some thoracic extension in your body here. With the arms extending overhead, we want to make sure that we're feeling this stretch through the back of the arms. So my elbows should feel like I'm trying to spin them down toward the mat so that I feel those triceps getting a stretch, I feel the lats getting a stretch, and then I'm taking my shoulder blades onto my upper and mid back. So I feel my shoulder blades kind of translate down on my back toward my mid back. As much as I can, I'm trying to keep my hips over my knees here, letting my chest settle toward the floor. So it's all about my chest dropping to the floor. I've even taken my chin out in this position, and I should feel those arms taking the weight of the floor into the upper back. Now, if this one's a little bit too advanced for you to begin with here, take the arms up on the wall and you can actually replicate this position sitting back toward your heels as the arms are up on the wall, letting your chest sink toward the wall in that position. We're going to come back out here, still from that all fours position, thread one arm through the opposite side, placing the ear to the mat. So we're trying to get some space between the shoulder and the ear here, lengthening the neck out and getting a little bit of spinal rotation in this position as well. Just let yourself relax a second here. We're not going to be doing any movement as we put pressure on the neck. We're just going to let that one be static and take it all in this position. Good. Slowly come out of that one and switch sides here. So now we're reaching through, threading the arm through the opposite side, palm up toward the ceiling. Once again, ear to the mat and trying to put space between the length of the shoulder and the neck there. So the only thing you might try here is just a little wiggle, a little length of the neck. So if you feel like at some point the musculature around the neck eases up in this position and you're fighting that less, Then take the neck a little bit longer, trying to actually extend out a little bit more. All right, very good. Take yourself slowly out of that one. We're gonna bring ourselves into a deep lunge here. So my back leg, I have my glutes engaging so that I'm getting those hip flexors, a little bit of a stretch here. My back foot is planted flat, and I'm gonna rock in and out with that front leg outside of the arms there. So here, as I rock back, I'm trying to straighten my knee, and I even push myself back a little bit with the hands. The quadriceps are flexing on that front leg as I push back, pushing the back of the knee toward the mat. And I'm trying to keep my foot planted in this position as well as much as possible. So I don't want to feel like it's picking up if I'm able to keep that foot anchored in that position. Then drop the forearm of the opposite arm to the front leg to the mat and reach that arm that's inside up toward the ceiling, looking up toward that arm. If you need to, stay up on a fully extended arm rather than the forearm. Now this is the tougher of the two, taking the inside arm against that leg and rotating up. So if you can't quite do that one yet, don't worry about it. It's something to work toward. Next, we're gonna switch the leg that we have out front here. So now, once again, planting that foot out front of the arms with that back leg, the foot planted. We're gonna rock in and out, engaging the glutes of the back leg as I rock forward, getting those hip flexors a bit of a stretch, and then engaging the quadriceps as I push back, getting those hamstrings a nice stretch in that position, as well as that front portion of the foot. You might feel that top portion of the foot quite a bit in this one. So we're rocking in and out of that a few times using contract and relax there. Good. Once again, we're gonna drop that outside forearm from the front leg and rotate up, looking up toward the arm that's reaching. As I reach that arm toward the ceiling, I wanna make sure my palm is rotating up toward my head so that I'm not feeling tension in the neck as I reach that arm. And the more difficult of the two, engaging here with my glutes pretty well to keep that balanced position so I don't roll over as I rotate up toward the ceiling. All right, next we're coming down to the belly here. I'm gonna make a fist, and I wanna place that thumb down into the floor. With the thumb down into the floor, I rotate the opposite leg over so the arm is pinned against the floor with my biceps against the ground. And I am flexing and releasing the biceps in this one, or the triceps I should say in this one. So every time I'm flexing the triceps, I'm trying to release the biceps more to open up that arm. Next, I'm gonna switch to a flat palm against the floor and complete the same thing again. So a few flex and release of the triceps to release the biceps, open up that shoulder in this position. A lot of times you'll feel tension at the front of the shoulder, through the biceps here, maybe even down the whole length of the arm. The last position we're gonna work is a 90-degree angle. Think of half of a field goal. And in this position, I'm gonna glide myself a little bit north and south here while I have that arm under tension from that stretch. And I'm just trying to give that little bit of movement as I'm working. If you don't wanna add that movement, feel free to just hold that statically. The last thing with this position you're gonna do is make a little bit of an OK sign with your hand, so thumb to index finger and then the other 3 fingers out. And you just wanna reach your smallest fingers toward your head in that position. That's a little bit of a neural floss that we're working in that. All right, so from this angle, you'll be able to see a little bit better. We've got fist to floor. You can see my triceps flexing and releasing in this position here better. And you've got a clear view here. So we're doing a few of these flex and release, then we'll be switching palm to floor and then the 90-degree angle from here. Okay, bringing it to that flat palm position here. Once again, flexing the triceps. I'm trying to keep my top shoulders stacked on my side as much as possible, although I am able to assist with that arm to help myself rotate away from the floor if needed in that position. So don't worry about that if you're a little bit more chest to floor. Ultimately, the goal eventually is to get yourself as turned away from that arm as possible. Here you see that half of a field goal position. I'm doing a little bit of a glide while that arm is under pressure here. You might notice some side to side differences. If you have one side that you use a little more regularly, you might feel some more tension in that side as well. And there is the neural floss. You can see I'm reaching those 3 smallest fingers toward my head, kind of doing radial and ulnar deviation of the wrist there. And that's gonna give me a little bit of a movement from a neural floss perspective there. All right, bring yourself back to a belly down position here, hands in line with the chest. Engage the glutes, and we're gonna come up into an upward dog position. The glutes are flexed, the quads are flexed, shoulder blades are on my upper back. I wanna make sure that my shoulders are in line with my ears. My chest is not caving in that position. And then we're coming down into a child's pose here, but we're gonna add a little bit of side to side movement. So while my hips and knees are in that deep flexion, I wanna internally and externally rotate the hip a little bit to give them some extra movement at the end range of that capsule. All right, and there you guys have it. 15 minutes of some of my favorite positions to get into on a regular basis, and with some techniques that I like to use to help improve my flexibility and mobility overall in those positions. I'm leaving you nice and buttery in the end here. So if you're feeling good, give me that big thumbs up down below. Let me know that you like the routine here, and share it with a friend, because you know they need a good stretching routine. If you guys have not already, take a moment and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on future content like this. Every Thursday, I'm putting out videos showing you how to resolve aches and pains, prevent injury, and overall optimize your performance. And it really doesn't get much cooler than that. So jump on it. Welcome to the Stronghold Army. We'll see you guys next week.